Greenpoint Stadium will host the much-anticipated clash between old foes, the Springboks, and the All Blacks tomorrow. Now, Springbok captain Siya Kolisi has been declared fit to start in this Rugby Championship Test in a box starting 15, which includes 5 changes as well as a positional change. Meanwhile, the All Blacks have shuffled their backline as New Zealand coach Scott Robertson looks to bolster his bench with some experience. Now, to talk to us about this fixture, we are joined virtually by commentator, analyst and journalist Khanyiso Tshwaku, who has been based in Cape Town this week covering the events leading to the test. Good morning, Khanyiso. Thank you for joining us once again. I just want to start our conversation speaking about Siya Kolisi and his inclusion in the squad, because we know that shortly after the encounter he will have an op to restructure his nose. Let's talk about why you think Coach Rassie has still insisted on including the captain in the team.
Good morning, Vian. Good morning to the viewers. No, it's a decision that's come from the captain himself. Remember that at the end of the day, the coach may want to rule out a player, but especially with what Rassie said yesterday, Siya has the option of actually having his nose reset, being out for 3 weeks, or actually playing and then having his nose sorted out in 2 weeks. So I think with the magnitude of the All Black Test match, I think it's become very clear that, and Siya also being someone who spent his formative playing years here in Cape Town, it became very clear for Siya that this is not a test match he can miss. Remember that it is Cape Town's first All Black Test in 7 years. These teams last met at Unions in 2017, which a game that ended up being Unions' second last ever Test match. It's the first time these teams are meeting at the Cape Town Stadium. So I think Siya made a decision that, look, I won't call it anymore one, but I think understanding what is at stake. I mean, South Africa, in beating New Zealand last week, have recorded 3 consecutive wins over the All Blacks for the first time since 2009. But I think doing back-to-back in South Africa, they also did that in 2009. But I think they understand the significance of Kolisi playing this weekend, especially with what is at stake. Because should South Africa win on Saturday, one would feel that they will have one, they will win the Freedom Cup, and then 2, they'll probably have one hand on the Rugby Championship.
That's interesting because, I mean, we've seen, when you look at the Bafana team, Percy Dow saying to Coach Hugo Bruce, I'm fine, I can play, select me. And the coach still saying, no, I don't think you're ready, or that you are mentally okay to go ahead with this fixture. But Rassie, of course, trusting the captain there. Let's talk to the changes being made by Rassie Erasmus. It seems like he is giving a lot of players the opportunity to play when we look at the changes that are being made. Speak to me about what he says his thinking is behind that, because I assume you've had 1 or 2 opportunities to speak to the coach this week.
Yes, there was yesterday's press conference, which was moved to yesterday instead of Tuesday. Ostensibly, that was to allow Siya to have much recovery time as possible, was able to get through the training sessions. Look, I mean, Rassie's avoiding a sterility that one would feel may have developed after the Ireland game, where he picked the one team for the Loftus Test, didn't change it, and the results were different across the 2 games. He did say that there is a need to develop and perform at the same time, and that's what the Springboks have got right. So, I mean, you could call it a bit of squad rotation. Remember that Makazole Mapipi most probably would have played ahead of Kainan Moody if it wasn't for a delicate paternal matter that he needs to attend to back in Durban. So look, I mean, Lucanio Arms back on the bench is probably a significant one. If you look though at the bench in particular, the Boks have got 5-3 instead of 6-2. Probably that is a surprise, but again, there are 2 loose forwards on the bench. So in Kwagga Smith and Elvis Lowe. So clearly there is an element of bomb squad, not a bomb squad that we are accustomed to in terms of the 6-2 or the 7-1 split. But again, it shows Rassie's selection, flexibility and versatility in that he's able to move between these benches without actually compromising the strength of the team. Remember when he actually faced the All Blacks back in the World Cup final, he had a 7-1 bench split. He had a 7-1 bench split when the teams played in Twickenham in August, and a 6-2 when the teams met in Auckland back in July. So Rassie isn't scared of actually moving across what he deems to be necessary on a particular day. So I mean, look, the front rows remain intact. I mean, Eben Etzebeth's back at lock. Peter Steph to Toys back at flank. So effectively, the packs, if you look at them, they remain intact. In particular, I think the changes at the backline were made through necessity. Curtly Orange, for example, was probably, if it wasn't for concussion, would have played this weekend. But then again, so Kane and Moody ostensibly to also challenge the All Blacks on the high ball. Remember that the All Blacks have picked 3 out-and-out speedsters in their back three, but whose high ball credentials are rather questionable. So it's going to be interesting to see how South Africa, especially with Willie Leroux at the back, approach New Zealand and the high ball game.
It will be interesting to see how it all pans out. Khanyiso, I know you're out in Cape Town ready for this game. Thank you so much for joining us this morning and enjoy the game tomorrow. That is, of course, Khanyiso Tshwaku joining us, speaking all things about the Springboks and the All Blacks tomorrow. We do know that last weekend, the All Blacks late for about an hour of that fixture and they still lost to the Springboks. So, of course, Coach Rassie Erasmus and his troops will be looking to emulate that performance, but probably a little bit cleaner in terms of how they get the job done.